So if you're someone with 5,000 ringgit of expenses and you really want to hit that 600,000, how do you actually do it with the stock market? And let's say you only have 10,000 ringgit, right? And that feels like it's very, very far away. So to break things down a little bit further, you see, to make money in the stock market, there are actually three very important components. The first is if you wait to save up 100K, sure, you will have a lot of money, but you won't have a lot of skills and experience. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, best place for long-term stock investors. My name is MJ, and today we're going to focus on one thing and one thing only in this video. And that is, how much exactly do you need in order to start your stock investing journey? Before that, if you've already started your journey, do check out our free ebook where we guide you how to go from 0 to 6-figure when it comes to your stock portfolio in as short a time as possible. It's a totally free ebook. Check it out in the comments or the description. Sorry to burst your bubble, but here's the thing you gotta understand. Asking how much you need to start with is actually the wrong question. You see, when it comes to stock investing, it's very different from, let's say, property. In the case of property, you actually need to save up quite a bit, right? If you're in the Klang Valley region or in Malaysia, at least 5 figures, right? 20, 30, maybe even 80,000 ringgit for a basic house. When it comes to stocks, there's no such law, right? There's no such requirement for you to hit before you can start investing. And so the short answer is you can actually start investing when it comes to stocks with just 10 ringgit. Really, that's all. But you might actually be asking something a bit different. And I suspect some of you watching right now will be asking this. And that is, how much do you actually need to have that makes those returns when you invest in the stock market meaningful? And so the question is, what do I mean by meaningful? In this case, most of the time, it's when the amount of gains you make in the stock market can actually give you either passive income or support your current lifestyle. Usually, when I talk to our clients, when I talk to people, when I talk to other viewers, that's what they mean. Or sometimes they are also asking, how much money do I need to start with so that I can begin my journey to retire a lot faster? That's also one question I get a lot when it comes to what is actually a meaningful amount to start with. So the answer to these questions, these are good questions, is very simple. The first is you need to take your expenses, multiplied by 12 months, and then multiply again by 10. Now, I just want to point out before I go on explaining further that this assumes that you're able to make 10% returns in the stock market consistently every year. So let's go back to our example, right? Let's say you have expenses of 5,000 ringgit every month. So that's 5,000 multiplied by 12, that gives you 60,000. And then multiply again by 10, that gives you 600,000. So if you are someone who has 5,000 ringgit as your expenses, then a meaningful amount to start with is 600,000. Why? Because if you make 10% a year, so the 600,000 will produce 60,000, 10%, and then you'll be able to use it to supply or to handle your lifestyle. When you hear that number, that might seem like a lot to you, but trust me, don't give up. Yes, most people don't start with 600,000 ringgit, but the beauty of the stock market is there's many other ways. If you're enjoying the content so far, remember to give it a like, subscribe, click on the bell so that you get updates in the future. So if you're someone with 5,000 ringgit of expenses and you really want to hit that 600,000, how do you actually do it with the stock market? And let's say you only have 10,000 ringgit, right? And that feels like it's very far away. And that's where I just want to emphasize the importance of actually building up your capital, i.e. saving money. One of the things that a lot of Malaysians especially rely on in their retirement is EPF, right? Employees Provident Fund, and that's our national pensions fund. One of the reasons why that is a very good tool for retirement is because every month, even though the person might start with very little in EPF, every month when he takes a cut from his salary and put it into EPF through his employer usually, that actually builds up to several 100,000 ringgit by the time he retires with a normal job, right? With a job that's not earning a lot. So if you're earning a lot, then you have a lot more in EPF. So the key thing is that if you want to reach that meaningful amount of 600,000 ringgit, you have to be very, very disciplined in adding money every month. So to give you a sense, right, let's be even more conservative and say your portfolio of stocks don't grow, okay? Don't grow by 10%. It only grows by 5%. What does the math actually look like? If you save just 15% of your income, it will roughly take you 40 years to retire. Okay? Follow? Now, if it's 30% of your income, that number actually drops to 28. All right? Now, if you're really crazy, you save 50%, that number drops to 16. And if you're really crazy, you can save 75% of your income, that number drops to 9 years. In other words, if you save 75 cents of every dollar you make, it'll only take you 9 years to retire with a growth rate of just 5%, not 10. So if it grows at 10%, all the years that I mentioned earlier on gets chopped in half. So you can imagine the power of saving money. So to break things down a little bit further, you see, to make money in the stock market, there are actually three very important components. The first is your rate of return. The second is the amount of capital that you put into your stock portfolio. And the third is time. How long are you investing? So of these three components, two you can control somewhat and one you cannot. So let's take a look at the first one, which is rate of return. What do I mean by you can actually control somewhat your rate of return? When most people start off investing in the stock market, right, they'll learn from books, learn from videos like you are right now, learn from other people, and they always want to make that high return, right? So you can somewhat use your skill, of course there's luck involved as well, to make a higher return. So that's the first way to make money in the stock market. That's the first important component rather, which you can somewhat control. So the second, as I said, is capital. And this is where it is important for you to learn how to save money, as I showed you the math earlier on. And also equally important is to actually make more money, right? Actually excel at whatever job you're doing. And that's why we never advocate people just quitting their jobs and doing investing or even trading full time. Because if they have a job and they are decent at it, then they can have good income growth and then good savings rate, which means that there's more capital for their investments, which is going to be obviously very, very crucial. The third, which you can't really control as of now, is time, right? So I'm not going to talk too much about something you cannot control, but the only thing I would say is that the longer you stay in the stock market, the more money you will make eventually. Just to give you an idea, Warren Buffett has been investing since he was 11, but he made 99% of his money after his 56th birthday. So just to give you an idea how important time is. But that's not something you can really control, right? Unless you have a time machine or you can go into the future. So now let's zoom into the two things that you can control. And of the two, based on my experience, most people like to focus on the return or rate of return component, right? And it kind of makes sense, right? Because it's like, who doesn't want to make 100 times their money in the shortest time possible? But it is also my view that because they only focus on the rate of return, because they only focus on the speculation, which stock is going to go up a lot, they miss out on the basics, which is actually generating and saving up capital. And so the question is, why don't they focus on it, right? So let me illustrate a point or an example to you to show you why it's actually a good idea to build up your capital consistently when it comes to stock investing. So let's say you have 10,000 ringgit and you manage to find a good stock that doubles. So if you guys don't know, a double means you grow that money by 100%. That's a very good rate of return. Using that 10,000, you would have, if you doubled, generated another 10,000 ringgit. Not bad, right? But let's say you were disciplined and you add money into your account over time and you manage to save up 100,000 and it doesn't do as good, right? It doesn't grow by 100%, but it only grew by 20%. Just because your capital was bigger, the gain you get wouldn't be 10,000 like the first example, it would be 20,000. So why is this important? You see, the thing is, generating high returns in the stock market is very difficult. 90% of fund managers out there don't do better than the market return. In this case, it will be the index. The index only grows 8 to maybe 10% every year. So you have to be realistic as to the kind of returns you can make. Yes, it's possible to find a stock that goes up 100% or more. I've done it before. But I don't base my strategy on that. I base my strategy on being conservative and saying, okay, how can I get decent returns even if I don't get the 100%? And the way you do it is by being disciplined, working on the fundamental basic truth that saving money is going to be very, very important, not just your rate of return. Of course, the best is you save up a lot, you save up 100,000 and it generates 100% of returns. That's the ideal, but that's rare. So just let me re-emphasize, right? The reason you want to pay more attention, especially if you're just starting out on actually saving up capital, is because saving money is a lot less complicated, right? It's just taking the money and putting it into the stock brokerage account versus actually trying to generate 100% returns. Because that you need to do research, you need luck, right? You need a lot of time to talk to people, to, Google stuff. It's a more complicated process. So why not focus on the simple stuff? Okay, then your next question might be, okay, MJ, should I save up the money first? Then once I get that 100,000, then I start investing? The answer is absolutely no. And here's why. The reason you need to start ASAP is not because you can generate returns in the stock market, contrary to popular belief, right? Most people say you have to invest right now because there's inflation or you don't want to miss the boat. That's not the reason. The reason you should invest right now, even with a small amount of capital, 500 ringgit or 5,000 ringgit, whatever it is because you need to learn and get your feet wet. You need to have experience. If you wait to save up 100K, sure, you have a lot of money, but you won't have a lot of skills and experience, right? And here's the thing, doing that is actually very risky. Because if you have a lot of money, but you do not have the experience and skill, your likelihood of losing money in the stock market is pretty high. So why not with little money, before you save out that big amount, before you get that promotion, whatever it is, why not start with a little bit of money that in the event that you do make a mistake, and there's a high chance you'll make a mistake, especially early on in your investing journey, your loss will be limited. If you only put in 2,000 ringgit, yes, it's still money, right? Don't get me wrong, but you made a mistake, the stock dropped by 50%, you only lose 1,000 ringgit. But if you start with 100K and your portfolio drops by 50%, you've lost 50K. But you see, if you start small and you start generating experience, you start meeting new people, you start reading more books and all that, your skills improve over time. So that by the time you do get that 100,000, you already know what you should or should not be doing by and large. And the most important thing perhaps is by the time you get all the experience, you're a lot more secure when it comes to your psychology and your emotions, which is absolutely important. So hopefully now you know how much you actually need to start investing and why actually that question is not, at least to me, a very good question, because there's actually far more important questions to ask before you start your investing journey. And if you like the video, remember to share it with your friends, share it on your socials. Follow us on our socials, Facebook, Instagram. We have a Telegram group chat. And of course, if you love this sort of content, make sure you subscribe, make sure you click on the notification bell, and come watch some of our other videos.